Hey guys, so I decided to start a new little series on my channel called What's on My Mind. Basically, I'm going to be talking about stuff that I've been thinking about over the past week or so and just chatting about it. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk a while. So, what's on my mind today? We need to save the world. Why? Because the earth is dying and we are killing it. So basically, last week or a couple weeks ago, I've been on this whole, like, going down this whole rabbit hole of the environment and how basically the earth has been dying for like the past 100 years because of everything that people have been doing. And yeah, it's been on my mind a lot. So I wanted to talk about it. So recently I watched uh, the docuseries on Netflix called Our Planet, and it really shows how beautiful our planet is and captures every single thing about Earth, and it's amazing. And when I was watching this docu-series, it also talks about how the planet is dying, and it really hit me when I was watching it, and it was showing these walruses that typically walruses live on ice. So they migrate and they all kind of gather on big blocks of ice, like huge, huge blocks of ice. And I think it's around Greenland that they do this. And they usually, all lay out on the ice, and that's how they live. And the ice is melting. So that ice isn't there anymore. And it was showing them all gathered on this cliff, basically, on this piece of land, because there's no ice. So they're all gathering on this piece of land, and they're so crowded that they are pushing each other off of the cliff, and dozens of them in the film are just falling to their death. And that really hit me. I don't Just watching an animal just fall like that and just not have any way of surviving is really eye-opening. So I went down this rabbit hole, and basically, in a nutshell, our earth is precious and we are killing it. Like, if we continue doing what we're doing, we're not going to be here in 200 years because the earth is going to become uninhabitable. And another thing that docuseries taught me was, again, it's called Our Planet on Netflix. Another thing I learned from that is, they're always talking about how the ice is melting, and so like polar bears and stuff are drowning, but people don't really talk about how the ice is melting and it's actually changing the salt levels in the ocean. So it's not just like the polar animals that are being affected by this, it's literally the entire ocean, because saltwater fish and saltwater animals can't live in fresh water, and it's adding all the ice melting is adding a bunch of fresh water into the ocean. And so it's affecting the entire oceans, all the oceans, the entire thing, not just the Arctic. So, yeah, anyways, I also watched a film called Kiss the Ground, which basically talks about modern day farming and how massive farming of plants has affected the soil, and the way it affects the soil emits more CO2 levels into the atmosphere. And so the way people have been farming for the past 200, 300 years has really impacted our atmosphere. And it also talks about how things like chemical pesticides and chemical fertilizers have been a huge problem on the environment. And that was another real eye-opener for me as a gardener, which, I mean, I do things pretty organically to begin with, but I never realized how plowing fields and leaving them bare really affects the environment, and having crops like rotating your crops so that there's not as much bare land, and doing no till or no dig growth, doing the no till method, actually really helps the environment significantly, and I never realized that. And Kiss the Ground, which is a film on Netflix, really was really eye-opening in that aspect. The third one I watched was related to the docuseries Our Planet, but it was a film called A Life on Our Planet, and it really, really spells out how much of a dire situation we're in. It talks about how in the 1940s and 1950s we still had a significant percentage of the plants and forestation or forest and wildlife on our planet. We still had like 75% of the original wildlife, and now we're down to like less than 50% of the original wildlife in our planet. The man who talks through the series, I can't remember what his name is, but he was one of the first people to explore the rainforest, and he just seems so broken down by the fact that the rainforests that he first explored are now 75% smaller than what they were because of deforestation. So another thing I learned was the CO2, the carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, has been drastically increasing. In 1820, the CO2 levels were at 284, and then in 1920, they were at 300. So that's not that much of a difference. It's a level of 16. So that's in 100 years, 1820 to 1920, they went up 16. From 1920 to 2020, they went from 300 to 414. So that is huge. That is a huge, drastic increase in carbon in our atmosphere. And that carbon will increase the global temperatures. That's what global warming is. It'll increase the global temperatures. It'll cause the deserts to become drier. It'll cause more flooding in areas in the Arctic or in the north where there's far south where there's ice. It'll cause the salt levels in the ocean to go down. It'll cause combined with continuing deforestation, it'll cause mass extinction, and it will cause so many problems, especially if we continue in 100 years, the CO2 level will be 630 if we follow the same trend. And at that point, in 100 years, which is in your kid's lifetime, it's in your grandkid's lifetime, it might even be in your lifetime if you live long enough. In 100 years, the earth will start to become uninhabitable to people because of how drastic and how fast we're destroying everything. And so the major causes of this it's a combination of deforestation, which is cutting down the rainforest. It's cutting down forests, period. That's deforestation, obviously. And a big problem with the deforestation is they're cutting down parts of the rainforest and then they're planting more trees, but when you deforest part of the rainforest, you're cutting down several species of trees, which is eliminating or affecting several species of animals and insects and bacteria and plants. So you're affecting all these hundreds of thousands of different plants and trees. You're cutting down hundreds of different trees, but then they're only replanting one type of tree. And that's causing a major effect on biodiversity. So these food trees and these plants and things that all work together to survive, they're being eliminated and replaced with one type of tree that's not as biodiverse. And then also those trees that they're planting, most of them are palm oil. A lot of the rainforests are being replaced with palm oil trees. They're also being cut down to be harvested. So it's a major issue is deforestation and traditional farming. Because like I said, and you really have to watch the film to understand more, because I'm not a scientist. I can't really explain it. But in Kiss the Ground, they explain how traditional farming and traditional techniques of plowing and then not replanting after crops have been harvested, that really affects the environment and the CO2 levels and biodiversity. So deforestation, traditional farming are the major causes of this. And also that combined with industry, such as factories and stuff like that, emitting CO2 levels into the air, we're taking away the thing that digests the CO2 and creating more CO2. So it's causing a huge problem. And so what can we do to help this? Like that was one thing that I started thinking about, because I'm not cutting down trees. I don't I don't work in an industry that is emitting major amounts of CO2. I've never worked for a company that has been a major detriment on the environment. So what can I do to make a difference? I'm just one person, right? So this is what I came up with for that. Planting trees. And of course, we all know about Arbor Day. We've all been taught, everyone should plant trees. Everyone should plant something, watch it grow. But really, planting different types of trees that are natural to your area, because most places have been deforested to an extent. Unless you live in a plains area or in a desert, most areas, especially in the Americas, have been deforested. And places like Africa and Australia too, I'm sure. But like my area where I live, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, was mostly forest. And now it's not. We still have forests, we still have trees everywhere, but it's not a thick forest like it was when it was colonized. So planting trees, planting a variety of trees that are natural to your area, I think even if each person plants just one tree, that will significantly impact our environment. If one person plants a tree, that's just one person, but if everyone plants a tree, then that will make a significant difference. And I know not everyone has an area where they can plant a tree, but if you can, why not? If you have an area in your yard that you're not using, why not plant a tree there? Why not? Encourage biodiversity. So if you tear out 10 species of plants and replace it with just one species, there's not going to be as much biodiversity or a variety of nutrients, insects, animals, and that part of the earth won't be as healthy, even if it's something as small as your yard. And this is one thing we all know, is people tend to have just grass in their yard. And there's so many people that aim to have only grass, which I don't understand. Why would you want just one plant in your yard? That area isn't going to be as healthy. I mean, why? Why just grass? What is it about grass that's so special? So if you want to help encourage biodiversity and you can't do anything on a large scale, which most of us can't, start small in your own yard. Let the wild things grow. I see so many people try to kill dandelions and try to kill clovers, and they want just grass in their yard. And why? Let the dandelions grow. Let the wild violets grow. Let clovers and moss and things like that grow, and it will create more biodiversity in your yard. It'll look nicer, I think, because grass is boring. And why not have little yellow dandelions throughout your yard? It's pretty. The pollinators, the soil, the wildlife, all that will be so much healthier if you have a mix of things rather than just grass. And if you want to take things one step further, plant stuff. Plant a variety of plants in your yard. Either let the wild things grow, or let the wild things grow and plant new stuff too. Having just grass is boring and unnatural. Just make things interesting. Make your yard more interesting than having plain grass. The second thing that I think is, or I guess the third thing that I think is the best we can do at this point as individuals, is stop supporting businesses that are causing the problem. Yeah, stop supporting businesses that are causing the problem. It's not enough to just recycle. We've all been taught to recycle, but if we continue to buy products that are produced by companies that are killing the planet, then we will continue to kill the planet. It's not enough to just recycle those products. We have to stop buying them. we have to stop supporting these industries. And so a goal that I'm making for myself is to stop buying plastic in general. I know it's going to be really hard because there's certain things that are necessities that come in plastic, and it's harder to find those products like dish soap or laundry detergent that don't come in a plastic container. But I'm going to try my best to stop buying plastic. I actually just ordered conditioner. My hair, as you can tell, my hair needs it. I ordered conditioner that does not come in plastic. It's a conditioner bar, and I'm going to try to switch all of my beauty products over to things that do not come in plastic. Last year, New York had the plastic bag ban, and everyone thought it was the end of the world because they didn't have their plastic freaking bags. But a year later, we've all adapted. And yes, we've replaced them with paper bags, which again adds to deforestation. However, I think that it's easier to reforest or to farm trees to make paper bags than it is to eliminate all the plastic that's going to be on our planet for 100 years after it's made. So I'm going to stop buying things that are plastic if I can help it. We are going to start shopping local more often. We are surrounded by farms, but for some reason we're always buying our produce at the grocery store. And when we do that product, yes, it supports a farm, but it also has to be packaged, usually in some type of plastic, and it has to be shipped. Even if it's, only one state over, it's still being shipped, and it's still creating more CO2 in the atmosphere. So we're going to start shopping local more often, going to farmers markets. We also grow a lot of our own food, which I know not everyone has the ability to do that. But shopping local, buying from local businesses, small businesses, even if it's not produce, buying other things from small businesses reduces, like I said, reduces the need for shipping and things like that. That's having an effect on the environment. So buy things from your farmer's market, buy things from the mom and pop stores, and that will support your local economy too. So that's not just helping the environment. Walking. I don't drive to begin with, for personal reasons, but if you live within half a mile or a mile of your job, walk to work once a week if you can. That in itself, you'll save gas money for one thing. You'll get healthier, and it's better for the environment. Or if you live close to your grocery store, instead of always driving down the street to the grocery store, go for a walk. What's your reason not to? Yeah, walk. Go for a walk. Repurpose things instead of buying new. Again, like I said, it's not enough to recycle things. You have to stop supporting the businesses that's making these things. So, and part of that is repurposing things. When you have a need for something, instead of going and buying something brand new, to do that, think, what do I have that I could use for this? Even if that's not the original, purpose for that product, what could you use? Even if it's not the original purpose, if it works, it works. For example, in my garden, I needed trellises for my beans and for my cucumbers. So instead of going out and buying trellises or going out and buying cow panels or whatever, some people use, I used an old bird cage. I had a huge bird cage that we downsized last year, and I kept it in case we needed something or could use it for something, and I had the garden in mind, and it has been working perfect as a trellis for my plants. So repurpose things, and just small changes. If each of us makes a small change, it will lead to a bigger change. And I don't know, I don't want to see the earth continue to die in my lifetime. I want to see this turn around. I want to see things start to get better instead of worse. My whole life, we've just heard about how the planet is getting worse and worse. I want to start hearing how we're being successful in making it better. So that's what's been on my mind lately. I hope that you take some time to think about this stuff yourselves. Again, the docuseries and films that I watched on Netflix were Our Planet, Kiss the Ground, and A Life on Our Planet. And I'll probably be watching more stuff too, just because, like I said, I'm going down the rabbit hole with this stuff. And I can't save the world by myself, but if we all work a little bit to save the world, then we can save it. So have a great day, guys. I'll see you either later today or tomorrow for my garden tour video. And that's just something to think about. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It would really help me out. Thank you. Bye.